Welcome to the Charity Changemakers podcast, your weekly dose of inspiration and action for the changemakers of the world. Each week, we dive deep into the world of impactful charities. We connect you with the passionate leaders, the innovative ideas, and the real-world stories that are making a difference. Whether you're a seasoned non-profit professional or just starting out, this podcast is your chance to learn from the best and get fired up to make a positive change. We'll explore the challenges and triumphs of running a successful charity. We'll hear about the fundraising strategies, impactful programs, and the stories of the people whose lives are being transformed. But most importantly, we'll leave you feeling empowered and equipped to take action in your community and the organisations in which you work. So, buckle up, Changemakers, because we're about to embark on a journey of inspiration and impact.
Today I'm joined by Chris Bailey from the Sheffield United Foundation. Really pleased that he's able to come and to join us on the Charity Changemakers podcast today. It's an absolute personal highlight for me as a huge Sheffield United fan, having been born in the city, and even though I left when I was 10, by that point your club is well ingrained. So I will try and keep the football chat to a minimum, although there'll be a little bit of that sneaks into the conversation. But Chris shares some really, really powerful insights into the way in which he leads and manages the foundation. And I think you're really going to want to listen out for his approach to being very people-centred and that value alignment that has seen him grow from starting as an education officer at the foundation nearly 13 years ago to now being the chief executive, clearly driven by delivering services to the highest of standards. Look, this is enough from me. We're going to get on and meet our changemaker. Chris, it's great to have you here today joining us on the Charity Changemakers podcast. Thanks for coming along.
No problem. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Adam.
Yeah, no, you're really welcome. And look, a personal thrill, delight for me as a huge Sheffield United fan, and have been the whole of my life. I left Sheffield when I was 10, but by that point, your football club's ingrained. So it's great to obviously to have you on here as and representing the foundation. So like I say, thanks for coming along.
You're welcome.
Yeah, great. And look, we like to start off these podcasts with some quick-fire questions, the opportunity for the audience to get to know you a little bit. Chris, tell me, where's the most interesting place you've ever visited?
That is a good question, because the word interesting it's all about perspective, isn't it?
It is.
I've been fortunate through the role that I've got to visit quite a few places through work and the sort of networks that we're in. I think the place that I enjoyed the most was Seville. That was a really nice place. We went out there to a European football conference all about sustainability, but it was nice to be able to walk around the city and experience some of that culture. So that was really nice.
Yeah, perfect, great. And quickfire number 2, what are you reading at the moment?
So I tend to read not necessarily for pleasure as such, but more around self-development and just sort of the values that I hold close. So the book I'm reading at the minute is it's by the Minimalists, and it's called Love People, Use Things. It's been out for a few years now, but that's one I tend to reread. So I'm rereading that at the minute. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's not one I've come across. So it's one I'm going to have to go and look up, as I'm sure many people that are listening will as well. And our final quickfire, Chris. So outside of work, what do you like to do to relax?
Football is still something that I'm able to do on a recreational basis, so I do enjoy that. But one of the things that people tend not to know about me quite as much as I do enjoy live music, particularly rock music. I like going to a few gigs and concerts, so that's how I wind down.
Yes, yeah. A particular favourite band or a particular favourite gig that stands out?
I wouldn't say there's a favourite band, but the most recent gig that I went to was the Foo Fighters at the Emirates Cricket Ground in Manchester. That was really good.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, what an experience, I'm sure. So yeah. And you say a bit of football outside of work, relaxing. Is that at beautiful downtown Bramall Lane, or are you enjoying your football somewhere else?
No, it's purely recreational, just at a local comprehensive school. Just a few friends that we are aging, but we still like to run around and do our best on a Monday night. Just keeps your body fit and healthy, keeps the mind healthy, and also just seeing friends and having that social connection is really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
You wake a little bit on a Tuesday morning, but it's worth it.
Yeah, that's right. It just takes a bit. It takes a few more days to get over it.
It does, yeah.
The older you get, yeah, absolutely, indeed. Actually, one of the podcasts earlier in the series, we had Rob Burton. He's the chief executive of Leadership Through Sport and Business, and he's absolute football background. He played professionally in New Zealand, a variety of different places. But we had a really insightful conversation about the importance of sports, and for your mental health, and getting in there and playing with your friends, and that friendship, and the importance of sport in bringing that for a lot of individuals. So I totally get the importance of that regular fixture in your week. So no, that's great. Chris, obviously here for the podcast, we're talking to a variety of different leaders across the charity sector about how they found their way into the positions that they're in. You're obviously chief executive of the Sheffield United Foundation now, and you've been at the foundation for coming up 13 years, I think, but obviously not within that. Yeah, but obviously not within that chief executive role the whole of that time, starting as education officer and working your way up. And, we'll delve into, I guess, that journey. But was your start within the foundation? Was it your first role within the charity sector, or how did you find yourself working within the sector?
It was my first paid role in the charity sector. Yeah. When I was studying, I volunteered quite a lot for different charitable organisations, which was mainly around sport and physical activity. Particularly disability sport, helping sports be accessible and inclusive. That was sort of what I was working towards when I was younger. But yeah, in terms of this role, so my background is in post-16 education.
Yeah.
And I joined the foundation, like you mentioned, as the education officer to help develop some of those educational opportunities for young people in the city. That's where the journey started. And 13 years can sometimes feel like, 13 minutes.
Yes,
but it's certainly been a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's something that comes with a longevity of staying within one organisation and getting to obviously know an organisation and thinking of build those relationships and those stakeholders. But it's not. I don't think it's not common. I would say across the charity sector. We see a lot of people a few years in a role and moving on. But I guess there's also that progression as well within the organisation where obviously they've trusted in you, invested in you, and helped you grow up through the foundation. So I guess talk us through that. And I guess I'm always conscious, having worked with a number of football foundations over the years, that there can sometimes be quite a bit of change within foundations and funding, and things that are always, there's lots of moving parts. So it'd be interesting to hear a little bit about, I guess that journey and that progression through Sheffield United Foundation.
Of course, yeah. So I think when I first started, I was so passionate about teaching. I've always been passionate about supporting people and empowering people, take responsibility for their own journey, helping give them the resources and the tools so that they can go on that journey themselves. And that for me started in education. And coming to the foundation at a time where football in the community was well established, it started in the sort of mid to late 80s. But in terms of how we're structured now as a charity, most organisations established in 2008, particularly in the football sector. So back in 2011, we're still relatively young as a charity. And there was lots of opportunities to grow and develop the educational programmes, which is what we did. So it was just me initially in that education area. I would probably say there was less than 10 of us in the foundation at that time. And what we did, sort of, some of it was strategic, some of it was organic. And we managed to grow those education programs to a point where we brought a team of tutors in, a team of coaches, pastoral support. And that then brought its own management structure in. And what you had in other areas of the foundation was very similar growth around some of the community outreach work, the inclusion work, and that community cohesion piece, alongside what you might call sort of traditional football in the community, which is, football outreach work. So it was a real growth period. And I was, in some ways I was fortunate to be in that position at the time, which is something that a lot of people don't necessarily talk about, but there's certainly an element of being in the right place at the right time. The difference is making most of those opportunities as opposed to letting those opportunities pass you by. And that's certainly where I think my journey's taken shape. So when that education program was developed, we were looking at, and again, a couple of people move on. And I think those opportunities when people retire or move to different organisations, I was fortunate enough to be in a position where I was offered the opportunity to become an operational manager and oversee the whole of the foundation, which was actually only for about maybe 14, 15 months
Right.
before the opportunity to become the head of foundation, as it was called then, and run the whole thing. And again, some of that was circumstances, but I also believe that if you put yourself in the best position possible, then those opportunities are more likely to come.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate, and I've got a fantastic team that have supported me, a really supportive board. And it's been really enjoyable, really
Yeah.
enjoyable. And you are right in what you say about that longevity. I am not the longest serving person at the foundation,
Yep.
contrary to what people might believe in that. We've got some really good people that have been here for a long time, and what we've seen, certainly over the last 6 years that I've been in this role, is the average length of service just keeps going up and up and up. And for me, that all comes down to the culture of the organisation and what we can offer our people,
Yeah.
and the impact that they're having on the community.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of in a nutshell, sort of how it happened.
Yeah, that's right. And there's loads of things there I'd like to delve a bit deeper into. I guess just thinking about, being in the, like you say, being in the right place, the right time, and those opportunities as they progress. I mean, there, and a number of people that I think will be listening to this podcast will be thinking about how they can progress within their careers and their journey within the sector, within their organisations. Have there been things that you've either invested in for yourself? I don't know, training or CPD, or the organisation that's invested in you, or groups, or support networks that have been of value, where you think, that's really helped in your learning and in your development?
Absolutely, and it's probably all of those things that you just mentioned there. There's definitely a CPD element, and some of that comes in the form of qualifications and formal training. Very fortunate to work with partners at the Premier League and the EFL in terms of their training and workforce development opportunities are really good for our sector. Management training, project management, finance training, leadership, and then more recently in this particular role, I'm halfway through an MBA at the minute through Sheffield University. So for me, I love learning, and I love learning for learning's sake sometimes. So there's definitely things that I've been involved in that have really helped shape my career journey. But there's things that I've been involved in that maybe haven't, but they still add value to them because of the experience and some of those learnings. And they may come back round at some point. So the way I always sort of encourage CPD and training is once you've done something, once you've learned it, and you embed that into your values in the way that you work, that's there forever. Then no one's going to sort of take that away from you. So I'm actively encourage CPD, and one of the things we're doing at the minute with our management and operations team is giving them the opportunity to undertake training, because then they've got the knowledge and the skills. For me, it's about everything that we do is about developing people. The crux of what we do, we are people helping people in its simplest form. That's who we are. It's what we do. And that starts with us. So if we are helping people in our communities to become empowered and, tackle some of the inequalities that they're facing and open up opportunities, we've got to do that with our own team first. And for me, I know that they're not necessarily going to be here at the foundation, maybe as long as I have. Certainly nobody's going to be here forever. But if we can equip them with the skills, the knowledge, the tools, the experiences to go to another organisation, ideally in Sheffield, of course, because we want Sheffield to be, one of the best cities in the country. But that's success for me. So, and that comes from what I sort of appreciate and value in terms of that training, workforce development. But in terms of the opportunities, I think circumstance definitely played a part in that. I had really supportive leaders and managers myself over the years, really good colleagues around me and sort of standing shoulder to shoulder with me. And fundamentally that comes from just having trust in each other and faith in each other. I'm a big believer in people.
Yeah.
So,
And it sounds like there's a value, a value alignment between, your personal values, the values that are being driven presumably from the board of trustees down across an organisation, that has meant that there's that cohesiveness between not just yourself, but obviously clearly, as you see, with people staying with the foundation and driving that positive culture across the organisation leads to a positive working place that can then have the greatest impacts for the city, right?
Absolutely. And it's really important, because authenticity is really important. You can try to maybe do things that aren't authentic for a certain amount of time, but then that will slip. So what we find, we do see that in business, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong. Sometimes people don't necessarily fit into a sector or an organisation or a certain way of working. And I know that I've been asked questions or faced challenges around the way that we do things here, but it's authentic. And that's why it works for us in the sort of way that we are and how we're structured, and the people that are working at the foundation, because it's authentic.
And tell us a little bit about the foundation and the work that it delivers, and I guess that growth. When you talked about you were the only person in the education side when you joined the organisation, I guess talk us through some of those programs and that change over the last 13 years.
13 years, yeah. So we that education piece, I think we started with 7 young people so we had a partnership with the Sheffield College initially, who've been a great partner over the years and continues to be. So we had 7 young people that were at risk of being removed from a certain programme at the college. We used the powerful brand of the football club and the sort of draw of the football club to engage those young people. And then the question was just, okay, how can we continue to support them? So you move into different programmes. Okay, how can we support more people that may be in similar situations? So your programmes grow, and then you diversify the programme offer, but whilst remaining true to the values of the organisation. So in terms of sort of maybe some high-level figures, we had, certainly when I sort of took over in this role, we had 24 members of staff.
Yeah.
And we are now regularly paying over 70 people on payroll, which sometimes, other chief execs of charities will know that can make your heart skip a beat sometimes. And we had several programs. We're up to sort of 25 programs now, and some of those can be split down into further elements. So, it's grown in terms of the reach, in terms of the size and scope, but we try and remain true to the values and deliver what we say we're here to deliver. Because there can be obviously opportunities that come and in the past we've probably been guilty of that, where we've accessed opportunities or agreed to opportunities that maybe weren't right for us. And as a charity, it can be difficult because you've got to balance that the delivery for us as a service organisation, the impact on the community, but you're also a business, and you've got to look after sort of your income, you've got to look after your people, and make sure that you're well governed. So sometimes that trade-off has maybe swayed a little bit too far. So one of the things that we've had to learn as an organisation is to say no, or to say not right now, because it doesn't necessarily fit with our strategic direction or maybe the values of the organisation, which is really difficult because Sheffield United as a brand, it's, people want to work with that brand, they want to be associated with the brand. It's very powerful, it engages, it's positive, but it's got to be right for us as a club and as a foundation to make the impact in the areas that we want to. But growth-wise, again, it's not me. If anything, I always say to my colleagues in our team, I'm here for them. I'm here to make sure that they have the tools, the skills, the resources, the finances, the training to go and do their jobs effectively. I very much believe in that servant leadership model. I'm here because of them, not the other way around. And I think that's sort of been really important in terms of that growth. So they grow the projects, they come up with the ideas, they work with communities and consult with communities around what the needs are, what the challenges are, what the non-negotiables are, what the nice-to-haves might be. And then we work as a team to go on that strategic journey. It's just really important for me to say that it doesn't happen without everybody's involvement. And that growth is definitely down to the team, not just now, but the teams that we've had over the past as well in our success. And we've got a really good alumni, for want of a better phrase, where a lot of friendships are being created, a lot of people are still interested in what we're doing as a foundation, even though they may have worked with us for a while and then moved on to pastures new.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess it's an interesting mindset as well in that, in saying, well, someone who's joining you as an education officer now, there's nothing to say that they couldn't be the chief executive in 15 years' time, right? Because we've seen you go through the journey. So it's about investing and making sure that they're a part of that, their role and the foundation and what they're delivering. Because who knows where it's, like you say, where that career is going to go.
Absolutely, and I'm not naive enough to think, Adam, that my situation isn't unique. It probably is. But from a workforce development point of view, when we conducted a survey last year, we found that 43% of our current workforce are former participants of our programs.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that was purely organic. So imagine what we could achieve, with some more resource and some more thought behind it. And you've also got people in our management team. Like I said, there's a couple that have been here longer serving than me, that they started out as apprentices, sports coaching apprentices, and they've grown and developed with the business as well. And it's a balance. It's a balance between opportunities to bring people in from outside the sector. We want fresh ideas. We want diversity in the way that people think and the way that people perceive things, but also provide those opportunities for people that we're working with, either as participants or volunteers, casual members of staff, full-time members of staff, to show that progression. And sometimes that progression is with another organisation, and that's fine, because we've done our job. We've helped people to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. From a recruitment point of view, I mean, while we talk about people and growth and that, I mean, does the fact that you've got the Sheffield United badge there and, like you say, the power of the brand, do you think that helps in your recruitment of reaching out people, whether that's, I guess, frontline delivery of coaches, I guess, right through to fundraising teams? What does that kind of look like for you as an organisation?
Depends what room you're in.
Yeah,
it's a blessing and a curse. If we're being transparent, because if you are looking to work in football, let's say you're looking to work on one of our football development programs, and that's the career path that you want to go down, the brand will be very attractive to you. If you're a youth worker, for example, we probably aren't the first place that you're going to look for a youth work role, but we have several youth work roles because we pick up a lot of work in that space. Sheffield City Council, great partner. The Children and Young People Services, great partner. So it's a yes and no. The answer is yes and no. Sometimes it's really, really engaging, and sometimes it can be off-putting, or it's just not a place necessarily that you would look to engage with. And it's an opportunity and a challenge in equal parts for us to make sure that we're utilising the brand in the right way at the right time. Because actually sometimes for us, particularly from a delivery point of view, we're better off partnering with someone else's brand, and that works the opposite. Sometimes people want to engage with the brand because that will help meet objectives and engage with people. But other times, we're not naive enough to think that our brand can be off-putting sometimes.
Yeah. But there's something within that partnership working as well, right? That I think is obviously really important for you as a foundation, because clearly, delivering across the city with, the number of partners that you've already talked about, and school and everything else. I guess it's an opportunity that potentially opens doors there. But talk us through that approach to partnership, partnership work, and the importance there for the delivery of service and the range of individuals that you're trying to reach.
Partnerships are key. We can't do anything on our own. We are not the answer. We want to be part of the solution. And sometimes we're a bigger part of that solution. Sometimes we're a really small cog in the machine. So any relationship for me, whether it's a professional relationship, personal, business, adding value to that relationship and taking value from that relationship is the sweet spot. But sometimes we know as the foundation, we're in a partnership, or we're in a room, or we're part of a consortium, whatever it may be, to add value, not to take. And then there are other partnership opportunities where we know that we'll be taking more value than we add. And it's about having a balance across the piece and knowing when that's going to be, but also being okay with it.
Yeah.
it's not about us. It's about Sheffield. And what we've been trying to do through this sort of our current strategy that we're coming towards the end of is think more with our Sheffield hat on, because this football club has been a cornerstone of Sheffield for longer than most of us have been alive, and it will continue to do that. And if we can partner with as many organisations as possible across the sectors and continue that delivery long beyond we're all here, then that's where we want.
And what does that delivery of work look like? So you talk about partners and different things that are going off across the city. Talk us through a little bit, I guess, of some of what those programs, those services are.
Yeah, so we work across sort of 6 main themes, and the reason we chose these themes is because every program opportunity that comes about, we like to make sure we're hitting at least 3 of those before we say yes to it, because it has a deeper impact. So one of the things we're looking at is it's around the deep impact as opposed to the breadth and width of work that we're doing.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of work out there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're the best people to deliver it. So from a project point of view, I mentioned we've got 25 projects, but some of those can be sort of broken down into elements. So it's sort of closer to 40, and they work across education, employability, health and well-being, accessibility and inclusion, sport and physical activity, and you've got an opportunity to weave all of those themes across as many programs as we can. But like we say, the bare minimum is that we try and meet at least half of those, just so we know that we're making the right impact in the right areas. And we have really good, strong partners through the Premier League, the EFL and their representative charitable funds, EFL in the community and the Premier League Charitable Fund. Really strong connections with local authority, with South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority, the Chamber of Commerce, Sheffield City Trust, Sheffield International Venues, Leisure United, various schools, colleges, training providers, community organisations. And again, it's a balance because, for us to be successful, we need to work across all the sectors and engage with a variety of partners, because what works well in Darnall or Burngreave or Pixmoor or Tinsley might not work well in, Hillsborough or Beaconsfield, or the city centre. So it's about, we think globally, but we act locally.
And does much of your role fall in that relationship building and growing and that stakeholder engagement? Because it feels like there's a lot of partners that are involved in a lot of the delivery of work, delivery of service going through. I mean, does that take up a lot of your time, or is there a team of you beavering away on those important relationships?
Well, like I mentioned before, Adam, it's a team effort. I'm there for the team. Some of those relationships have come through me. Again, it depends what room you're in and who it is you've got that relationship with. But I like to bring the team on that journey with me. So we've got a chief operating officer that generally looks after most of those relationships. We are partners. We are patrons of Sheffield Chamber of Commerce, which was a strategic move to get into certain rooms with certain organisations to have those conversations. But fundamentally, the programme managers, so we have 4 managers that work across the business and manage certain projects and people. They are close enough to the delivery to be able to tell the right stories to the right people and build those relationships.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, the way I see my role is to promote the foundation, to connect the foundation, and to protect the foundation.
Yeah.
And that happens in many different ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes I'm not the best person to have those conversations because I can't necessarily give the same information or share those stories that other staff can. And more importantly, the participants of our programs. So we're really, really big on case studies and the participant voice being heard. Yeah. Because it's, like I said before, it's not about us, it's about them.
Yeah, yeah. And it's about that impact, right? As you were saying, it's about that deep impact. And what about, I guess, the relationship with the club? I'm always interested in that when I speak to people that are working in football foundations or sporting foundations. I've worked with some where the foundation's a little bit further away from the club, and it's not so closely tight knit as I see in other organisations. And I've worked with other clubs where the football club and the foundation are very much hand in hand in that delivery of work and that vision for the foundation and the organisation. So what's the relationship like between the foundation and club at Sheffield United?
It's a really positive one. I think as a football club, as a whole, we see ourselves as a family and community club, and that's something that we've always had here at Sheffield United. We're a cornerstone of the city. We come from sort of humble beginnings, working class club, very much as opposed, a lot of football clubs sort of fit into that mould. But one of the things we've got here is that's through the club. It's about family, it's about community, it's about Sheffield United supporting the people as much as the people support Sheffield United. It comes back to what I said about relationships, Adam, about adding the value and taking the value from. If you can get that balance right, then it works for everybody. So, we're supported by the club in terms of, for example, representation on our board of trustees.
Yeah.
Really strong representation from the club.
Yeah.
People that can help us strategically to develop plans. Really good operational links across the club in key areas. So that backbone function, if you like, or that supporting structure's there. But at the same time, there's a trust there that myself and our team can go and execute that and deliver that and engage in a way that is positive on behalf of the football club. So I appreciate other clubs and foundations will work differently, but for us, we are in a really good position. And for me, I like the way that it's working. For somebody else, that may be different. But yeah, absolutely. If the football club wanted to champion sort of family excellence and striving for those sort of kite marks from, in terms of safeguarding, equality, diversity, inclusion, the matchday experience, helping young supporters become supporters of the future, and Sheffield United becoming their go-to place, their safe space, their happy space. It sort of fits in with everything that we're trying to do. So it's really positive.
Yeah, and that's great. Great to hear. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, that family, like you say, that family club, that community impact, I think is something that I've been well aware of as a young fan, and now with a 8-year-old son who, despite the fact that we live a 3-hour car journey away and 150 miles down lots of motorways, he's adamant he's a Blade, and from that family experience, from coming along to his first game, and just being enthralled by it all. And actually, I think I'm going to go off on a tangent now, Chris. I think in the corner of my office, I've got a certificate from coming and having a tour of Bramall Lane, signed by Tony Curry from something like 1991 or something like that. And I brought my son to his first game at Bramall Lane a couple of seasons ago, and they do the home debut scheme, don't they? And get to come and have the full experience of going in the dugout, going around the pitch, seeing the family room, playing table tennis, playing on the PlayStations, getting a picture in the programme. And we met Tony Curry as well at that thing, and he got his got a handshake and a welcome, and from that point back has not looked back. But you just think that absolutely that focus on making the experience as positive as possible for the young fans, that it's going to cost me thousands of pounds in the coming years of shirts and season tickets and all sorts.
And that's that for you, it's gone full circle, hasn't it, in terms of meeting Tony. Tony's a fantastic ambassador of the work of the foundation. We've got a really strong programme that he leads on at the minute called Memory Club, which is around supporting those with dementia. And they meet monthly at Bramall Lane, and there's between 50 and 60 people attending that now from very humble beginnings. And people will probably know the Tony Curry soccer schools from the era that you mentioned, but Tony helped establish football in the community at Sheffield United, and he was involved in that for a number of years. And what people maybe don't realise, that he's still involved in that now as a club ambassador and a legend. Him putting on that programme and sourcing funding and partnerships for his programme to continue in the long term. He is still very much a community man. And, you've been talked about my length of service from an employment. I'm employed here. People like Tony come around once in a lifetime. He's fantastic. So for you to have that experience as a young person yourself, and then for your child to have that, is amazing. And that whole home debut scheme and all of the engagement activities, particularly in the family stand that our team deliver, it's all about that being a family and community club and connecting it. Because I know we're going off on a little bit of a tangent, but football has changed in recent years. The way that we as a society consume football, particularly online, has opened up a completely different market than probably what you and I had when we were children, in particular around, Sky Sports. There was no social media. You couldn't consume, the young lad's goal from Spain last night on TikTok or anything like that. It didn't happen. So actually, as a football club, and as a community foundation, we've had to change the way that we engage people so that they feel that connection to Sheffield United, because that's powerful, and you can change so many things in your life. Well, your football club isn't one of them. So we're in a different market, and we're facing different challenges when you can access international football at the click of a button. So that's where we are. It's actually really heartwarming to see that you've brought, you're passing that legacy on, and and that there's a positive experience associated with that for you and your son as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I'm interested then in what, because you've got so much delivery of service, so many different things that are going on. You've obviously got this, strong brand and opportunity to do so much work. And I guess people look at football and think, wow, there's just so much money in football, particularly at the professional level. What does that funding model look like for a football foundation? Talk us through, I guess. I guess that search for funding, whether is it all funded by the club? Are you going out to grants? What does it look like?
So it will depend on which organisation you speak to and where they're located in the country, because there's so many different variable factors. Here in Sheffield, there are two professional football clubs that are relatively successful, really well supported, and two really strong foundations. We work alongside all of the clubs in the South Yorkshire region, because actually geographically, you can't turn in any direction without bumping into another football club and their foundation. So it makes sense to collaborate. And that's one of the things that I've really tried to drive across not just that sector, but the wider charitable sector and business and public sector. It's about collaboration, not competition. And actually, if you go down that model, the opportunities for new business, funding, grants, fundraising, etc., they will come organically because of the authentic way that you're working in.
Yeah.
So for us as an organisation, I mentioned the Premier League Charitable Fund and the EFL in the community earlier, really, really strong supporters of our programmes, and there's programme funding available through those organisations, which then I think over the years has given us the opportunity to show off, if you like, and say, we are a legitimate organisation. We are a legitimate people-focused charity that deliver well. The governance and compliance that comes with being part of the football family showcases that we do things in the right way for the right reasons. And what that's done is it's built trust, and that's enabled us to build capacity over the years and actually seek opportunities in areas that we know that there's a need, but maybe 5-10 years ago we weren't in the right place to be able to support that. So again, that we are part of a brand that's recognised, but in certain sectors and certain areas, we've had to work hard on building that trust and getting into those spaces. And that's all about the people. It's all about the people of the foundation, the way that they deliver, the way that they act, the way that they speak with people, and they're very passionate. So it's a real mixed bag. So for us, certainly for me in my position, we don't like to have any more than 20% of our income in one programme.
Yeah.
Because we like it to be sustainable, and because the nature of the sector is quite volatile, we need to be flexible. I like to make sure that things stand up and fall down on their own merit. because that's just the nature of the sector that we're in. And, over the years, we were about to come through quite a big change in government, which will bring around some change, positive or negative, depending on your views on whatever happens. But there's always change. It's constant change. We've tried to position ourselves to be what I call sustainably adaptable.
Yeah.
So it's all about that long-term sustainability piece. We will be here forever. The foundation will be here forever to support Sheffield. But what that looks like will change based on the need, based on local, regional, national priorities. But we will be here to support the people of Sheffield. And part of my role is to make sure that that financial sustainability is there, the governance, the compliance, and that's part of the sort of, when I said promote, connect and protect, that's the protect element, and that's, it's really key in terms of that. But our team are really, really good at grants and contracts and service. We've got a lot of service agreements. So it depends on the work that we're doing, but it's all about that balance. We really try not to put too many eggs in the same basket because of that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, having that spread, like you say, for sustainability is so important. And does the impact of where the football club's playing its football make a difference? Because Sheffield United have been a Premier League football team for a little while, back down to Championship at the moment, and obviously in your tenure there's been a bit of back and forth. Does that the profile of Premier League, does that open up new opportunities that don't exist when you're in the Championship? Or there's a naivety to my approach here and understanding, but does that change things?
It does. And certainly, I think from an awareness point of view, if you look at the Premier League's market share, particularly on a global scale, in terms of those commercial agreements and where it's broadcasted, naturally the interest in Sheffield United goes up, particularly when we got promoted in 2019, because we hadn't been in the Premier League for about 12 years.
Yeah.
So you'll have people all over the world who now know who Sheffield United are because of that. And that then has an impact on the engagement with the football club as a whole and the engagement with the foundation. But equally, so I sit on a variety of groups locally, but also nationally in terms of that Premier League and EFL network. We know that there are clubs out there that do amazing work with their foundations that may never get to the Premier League. So the way that sort of structure works is that the Premier League and the EFL support right across the board. And I do urge anyone that's listening to this to actually look at the amount of financial support that football actually provides to communities, right the way through to grassroots, across programme delivery, across facility development, across training and workforce development. It is huge. Yeah. And it's one of the best kept secrets in football, unfortunately. But the support is incredible. And being in the Premier League, it does open up other opportunities, whether that's commercially, whether it's a delivery opportunity. But equally, we approach that as if that's an opportunity that isn't going to last a lifetime. And obviously that's been the case. Everyone knows that. We work on the premise that if we deliver high quality services in the right way, then we don't necessarily have to even concern ourselves with where the club is, because the club's been here over 135 years. The first 6 years of me being at the foundation, we were in League One. And for a lot of us at that time, we didn't know any different.
Yeah.
It was where the club was. It was where it was for a few years. And we actually saw quite rapid growth despite where the club was, just because we were trying to focus on high quality delivery, with really detailed monitoring and impact, so we can evidence what we're doing, why we're doing it, build that trust up with people across the city. And that's taken time, but what it's meant is that we're in a position now where we don't have to do that as much. We do if we're in new spaces, but we're a trustworthy brand that people want to work with. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to watch Premier League football, and it's nice to be, in the room with, the bigger clubs and clubs that are renowned internationally. But we take those opportunities as they come, but we stick to the knitting. We deliver high quality programs for the people of Sheffield, and that fundamentally is what's going to help us sustain regardless of where the club are.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris, I love that. And actually quite a lot of your answers, it's come back to this is who we are and this is what we deliver, and this is the benchmark of what it's got to be. And clearly that very much, people first in everything that you're doing, whether that's, thinking about your internal workforce, your beneficiaries, your stakeholders, the relationships that you're building, has been, really fascinating and really interesting approach that we've seen and continue, I guess that persistence and that continuity across all of that, but all of those things, that people at the middle, people at the centre, and people focused is, really, really insightful.
Yeah. Which almost sort of comes back to the book that I mentioned at the start that I've been reading and rereading about love people, use things. Yeah. Because the opposite never works.
Yes. Yeah, indeed. That's right. Yes, it's a good soundbite there. I'm going to use that one. That's great. Cheers, Chris. So, Chris, I guess I always kind of finish off the podcast by asking people this similar kind of question. A bit of an opportunity today to reflect on your career journey, as well as obviously, a great conversation about the foundation and the work they're doing. But if you were to, reflecting on your career to date, if you could go back and talk to yourself in your late teenage years or early 20s and give yourself a bit of career advice. Or maybe it's a bit of advice that you did receive or have heard along the way. What is it that you'd probably say or want to say to your younger self as you started off on your career and that journey into charity sector?
I think it's probably less about career, but more just generally, it's to try not to worry as much. And I think as I am a detail orientated sort of people centric person, so I tend to worry about other people. People are my priority, but it would be to not worry as much and to trust the process, trust that the work that's being carried out, the way that it's being carried out, will ensure that those worries never actually come to fruition, and they haven't. But if I knew then what I knew now, then you wouldn't sort of have that. But I suppose also if you're going to flip that, it's that little bit of stress, if you like, or a little bit of concern. That's because I care, and caring, particularly in the charity sector, and particularly in our sector, we're working with sort of 11,500 people. You have to care, and I wouldn't want to lose that. And maybe Absolutely. I wouldn't be here if I went back in time and told myself to not worry as much. Maybe I wouldn't be here.
Well, it's difficult to know, isn't it? But that's right, indeed. But I think you're absolutely right. It's that it's because you do care, and it's that people-centric approach that you've seen clearly your career thrive within the sector, and that opportunity to grow within a single organisation for greater impact across newer programmes and growing the organisation and its reach across the city, and that absolute driver around we deliver the highest quality service that we can with the resources that we've got, and from there people see that, and as you say, when you're authentic, people trust that, want to work with that, and build that relationship. So it's testimony to you, to the foundation, to the approach that it's taken. It's been really encouraging for me as obviously a fan of the club to hear and to see. Chris, I'm sure there'll be other people that either want to think about ways in which they might be able to support the foundation, having heard you come on the programme, or maybe want to reach out to you with questions. Presumably a Google search or maybe a message on LinkedIn will tag you up, obviously, in all the right ways. Is it okay if we do that and people reach out?
Absolutely, that's what we want, to promote the foundation, to connect with different people. If you do Google me, just ignore some of the cheesy photographs that have been taken over the years, please. But LinkedIn, the foundation is on LinkedIn. I am personally, and I always take the approach of connecting with everybody, because you just don't know what's going to come out of that relationship. So, and our programs are on all of our social media pages and our website, and what I said earlier is true. The foundation will be here forever. You might not need us, you might not need to engage with us, because you're on a path that you're happy and you're healthy. But if you do, we are here.
Right, and a perfect place to end. So thank you, Chris, again for coming on to the Charity Changemakers podcast. Appreciate your time, and I look forward to catching up again soon.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Adam.
And that's a wrap for this week on the Charity Changemakers podcast. Remember, you can be the change you want to see in the world. We hope that this episode has inspired you to get out there and make a difference. This podcast was brought to you by Charisma Charity Recruitment, one of the UK's leading recruitment consultancies for the charity sector. Whether you're a passionate professional seeking your next challenge or a charity searching for a top-tier talent, Charisma Charity Recruitment can help. Visit their website at charismarecruitment.co.uk to explore their latest positions and to connect your organisation with the changemakers shaping the future of the non-profit world. Thanks for joining us.